What's up, guys? Welcome to Throwing Shade, the series in which I take a look at some tier lists and give you my shadiest takes on the internet. Today's video is about the Deltarune Chapters 1 and 2 boss battles. So I have this nifty tier list that I found on tiermaker.com featuring the bosses from Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2. Now, I took the liberty of adding in Task Manager, Clover, and Mouse Wheel because they were not previously there, and they definitely deserve the spot. But before we get into it, be sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment down below. It's a big help, be greatly appreciated. But with that in mind, let's get a look at our first contestant here. This is going to be a good one, sports fans. I'm a huge Deltarune fan. That's very obvious. Just my entire channel is kind of branded around it. And I am a big fan of at least most of these bosses. So here we have K-Round. And K-Round, I should go ahead and say this actually first. To preface, this is my opinions, so I'm not spouting this as fact. You will likely disagree. I'd be shocked if you didn't. Also, I'm kind of basing this off of 3-ish major categories. It's gonna be the gameplay, so like the actual battle itself, like the bullet patterns, the gimmicks, that kind of thing. The atmosphere. Actually, that's about it. Two things. The gameplay and the atmosphere. I don't want to add like story in there, because if you add like plot and story, then characters like Mouse Wheel and K-Round are not getting very far, right? So I'll keep it fair with that. So starting with K-Round, I think we can go ahead and delete. That's not what I wanted. You can go ahead and delete this D tier, because I don't think there are any bosses that go in this D tier. K-Round is a pretty cool fight, because it forces you to work with sparing it. This is the fight where I believe we get Susie to kind of... Oh, actually, no. I remember now. This fight is the one in which we have to work around Susie attacking it, I believe. Because if you attack it too much, it'll drink, like, almond milk and, like, heal itself, I think. So this is the first battle. It kind of introduces us to this mechanic of, which isn't very long-lasting, but of making Susie kind of, like, gradually be on our side and start to work with us. And he actually appears twice. The strategy is either you can make him bow to make the crown fall off his head, or you can throw Chris, or is it throw Ralsei? I think you throw Ralsei, actually, at his crown to kind of like shift it around a little bit until it falls off. So this boss has a few good mechanics, and the song Checker Dance, great song. The atmosphere is pretty excellent. It's very reminiscent of Death by Glamour, which is a great song from Undertale. Overall, this is a solid, at least a high B. You can't go too high because it's not like... It's not as outstanding as many of the other bosses in this game, but it's far from the worst. In fact, it's probably around the middle-ish, so either low A or mid or high B for now. But we'll have to rearrange things later on, because these things aren't set in stone until they're really set in stone, you know? So next we have... Well, we're pulling out the big guns already. Next we have Jevil. And we already know Jevil is going somewhere up here. This is the first secret boss in Deltarune, the one that started it all off. Amazing atmosphere. The kind of like revolving circus background is excellent. It's very distinct compared to the rest of the fights in Chapter 1. And I think this is going to be a secret boss thing where they have like very unique backgrounds and stuff. And of course, The World Revolving is an iconic song from this game. Very good song. Honestly, better than Medalovania, I'll say it. I think it's amazing. So the atmosphere is awesome. He feels dangerous. He feels insane, but also feels shockingly sane at the same time. Like I think Sean says something like, he says things that simultaneously make sense and don't make sense. So that's... Jevil is all the way around just great. Fight-wise, he's a very long and challenging battle. I think he's much tougher than Spamton. He's hard for me to beat even now, even though I've played the game so many times. So, Is the difficulty a bad thing? No, it's actually a good thing, because this game is very easy, and Jevil is a great way to spice it up if you want to. He drops a good item if you defeat him, and the way you beat him is you just attack him or you pacify him, are the two ways of doing it, like most enemies. And there's a gimmick with Chris's act that makes like random effects happen in a certain order, so it's not actually random, but I think it's like the pirouette move. There's a bit of spice going on with that. Of course, he has the big like final attack, very reminiscent of the final attack in Azrael's fight in Undertale. So it's a very cool boss. It feels very final bossy without it being anywhere close to it. This is chapter 1, so we have far to go. But Jevil is great. I'm gonna put him up here for now. Straight up, it's awesome. Here we have one that's not quite so great. It's the joint battle between Susie and Lancer when Susie and Lancer team up for a bit. Now, this one's funny because it's not particularly ominous in any way. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like kind of a joke kind of thing. And your options are beat him up or put Susie to sleep, I think, first. And then Lancer, I believe. But your goal is to have them both asleep at the same time. This is where you get some good use out of Rousey's like lullaby kind of move there. Combat-wise, incredibly easy. Not much to really write home about here, since they essentially just use Lancer's moves from his first fight. That's about all he does, and then Susie just fires a few blasts, and that's about it. So it's not super difficult. It's funny, though. The atmosphere is okay. The song versus Lancer is pretty good. Not as good as most of the other fight themes. It's just, what if Lancer was like a bit more intense? So, I think it can't go above K-Round because of the fact that it's just the music is better for K-Round. The fight is more fun, more kind of like interesting gimmick going on here. So, though I will say that fighting your allies in RPGs is always a good time. It's always just, I don't know, it just feels cool. So, certainly not a bad fight. Not my favorite, though, per se. Here we have King, the final boss of Chapter 1. And King is... He's pretty alright. I mean, his arena is cool, because we're like on the top of the castle, and the fountains in the background. It's very cinematic and dramatic, and feels very Final Battle-y. I do think that King is a cool character. He's very, very intimidating, very ominous, very mysterious kind of guy. Very angry, conniving, snake-like. We don't see very much of him in Chapter 1, but he does feel that way when we do see him. In Chapter 2, he kind of falls off because he turns into this goofy kind of guy, like drinking out of the hamster bottle, which I think is hilarious. I just wish that we can get like a true, pure evil villain that won't change in one of these games, because it hasn't happened yet. So, fight-wise, he has some very unique moves. He has the one where he hooks onto the box, like moves it around, and he just really plays around with the battle system with the box a lot, and that's pretty sick. Deltarune has a lot more interesting fight mechanics and like bullet patterns and stuff than Undertale does, and this is a great example of it. Probably the first like major example, I think, in the game is through this battle. So I'll say that he's probably A tier. The music is great. The music is a tad underwhelming, because I feel like just taking the castle theme, making it a bit faster, and slapping on the legend motif at the end it's okay-ish. I think that the legend part is what makes it feel so final, because like the legend motif is like the motif besides the don't forget motif that kind of like defines this game's story so far. So I think that's pretty great, but all in all, great fight. Once again, not too challenging. Only these secret boss fights are actually that challenging so far. But I'm gonna put them at an A for now. Here we have, they're not going in C necessarily, but actually they might. We'll see about this. We have Sweet Cap'n Cakes. These characters just don't do it for me, really. They serve essentially no purpose in the story as of yet, and they are very, I don't know, very filler feeling. And their songs constitute like half of the soundtrack of Chapter 2. It's just, I'm not a big fan. But the fight itself isn't terrible. The bullet patterns are cool. The song is pretty good. It feels unique. So that's a good thing. Once again, very easy, but the dancing thing is pretty cool. It's essentially a scripted fight, so I can't feel too good putting it very high because it's just like the game just gives you the win essentially. As long as you can avoid some attacks a few times, the game tells you just to dance. So you dance, and the dancing is fun. It's cool. I think it goes below Lancer and Susie because of the fact that the atmosphere and the music isn't necessarily as good. I think the bullet patterns are better and the gimmick is maybe a bit cooler, but I don't think it can constitute the fact that these guys just don't really do it for me as far as the atmosphere goes in this game. So they're gonna go either here or here by the end of it. We will see. We might not even need a C tier. So you know what? I think we'll put it down here just so we can use this C tier. But there's really not much gap between these two. But we can rearrange this later maybe. Birdly is... I'll take this as this Birdly and Birdly later on in the chapter, in the Weird Route even as well. He's pretty enjoyable. He's actually kind of tough. Especially in the Weird Route, I actually died to Weird Route Birdly many times. Like, multiple times. It made me kind of sad that I just couldn't beat him, considering I've one-tried Jevil and spammed him before, that I couldn't get Birdly. So... he's... The cart mechanic is cool, because you like, make the carts, like, kiss or whatever, and it's really funny and it's cute. Smart Race is one of the best songs in this game. I love Smart Race. Excuse me. So, Birdly is a great character. He feels like an absolute douchebag, because he is, and his song conveys that very well. And this fight, very cool. You're on the tracks. Queen is looming behind you, like, maybe not like, you can't, I'm not sure if you can actually see her or not, but she's there. She's watching it all unfold, I think. And it's pretty humorous, but also like kind of high stakes. Great song, very there's a lot of motion going on. There's lots of moving parts. Just a cool, unique concept for a fight, and his moves are cool. His design is cool. Perhaps I'll say that design is also an aspect here, because he has like the Dragon Ball Scouter. He has like the Falco get up. His weapon is very cool. His like halberd, I think it's pretty awesome. Like the green energy blade, I love it. So I think this is better than King, honestly. Musically, design wise, I think King's like stomach mouth is pretty cool, but I think Birdly is still cooler overall. He oozes of that like know-it-all douchebag kind of personality. And yeah, I love Birdly. He's pretty sick. Next up is Base Spamton. Not Spamton Neo, just Spamton. This one's alright. He doesn't do a whole lot. He does like the mouth inhale thing, and there's like the press F1 to get help gimmick from that also is in Spamton Neo's fight. But and the music is Now's Your Chance to Be which is a good song. Spamton is a very funny character, like the slimy salesman losing his mind. I like this fight. I think it is. I think it's like, it's so close to this one for me, because I think I still like K Round more. Man, we'll come back to this one. It's somewhere in here. The rules card house fight is a great gimmick, a great song. I love the song. It's pronounced Rules, and I think Rules is the funny character. I do regret that this fight is so easy, because you can literally just box him in within like the first 2 or 3 turns and he loses. Like, the fight doesn't even last long enough for the music to play all the way through. It's very short, very easy. I do like that it integrates your thrash machine. I do like that a lot. That the thrash machine is so relevant in Chapter 2, even though it felt like a throwaway in Chapter 1. So, this fight, I think we'll put it in the A tier for just the atmosphere, the visuals, the design. The gimmick is good and it's smart, but if you were like a bit smarter, then you just win instantly, essentially. But I think bottom of A is good for right now. Now, let's see, we have Spamton Neo. We'll go ahead and take both of these at the same time. Spamton Neo, right away, I think he's going up here. I think the boss has such unique attacks. It's in a set pattern, but like the way the fight flows and the attacks come out, and so much just new funny stuff going on, but also is very scary, very intimidating. The atmosphere is great on both of these. Here you have like the basement railroad tracks. Here you have the fountain behind you, right? Because assuming that this is Weird Root, Spamton Neo. So it's great. The music, Big Shot, is excellent. It's challenging, but not as challenging as Jevil, but it's still like pretty tough. It uses the Yellow Soul, which is very unique and very cool, but uses it instead of going up, like shooting up, it shoots to the right. And this is very clearly a parallel to Mettaton. So Mettaton EX, I guess. I was gonna say Neo, but you don't actually fight Neo. So this is great. I think I still like Jevil in his like atmosphere and his like circus kind of vibe more, in the battle itself as well, a bit more. Even though Spamton is more unique, because it's more challenging. I think I like Jevil more for the challenging level. I think I might put Weird Root Spamton above Jevil, because this certainly is harder. You only get Chris, and that's it. And that's very tough. You can get hit like twice, and then after that you're cooked. So Weird Root Spamton is the hardest battle in the game. It's also so atmospheric with the fountain in the background, and he talks about your actions, and like he's kind of like the judge, the same way that Sans is. In some way, he kind of has that role. So I'm a big fan of this one. There's a few more left here. These last few aren't too long to take care of, but Queen, I think, is going to go right here, because I like her arena more than King's. It's more colorful. Her attacks are pretty unique in their own way. She had a few scrapped attacks that I wish she had kept, because they look really cool. There's a video of someone that like re-implemented them in the game, then they're really cool attacks. But her music is great, better than King's as well. It's the entire package. Just what if King was better? Her dialogue is more important, I feel like. That also holds true for this one as well. I will say, I think I like, well, because the main gimmick here is her acid shield and Birdly. So you're trying to attack her or free Birdly, and she has this acid shield that she puts up, which allows you to use physical attacks without consequences. So there you go. Your chance to pull out your Red Buster, for example. So this is pretty great. The gimmick of Giga Queen, the song isn't as good, I don't think. It's a lot easier too, I feel like. but it's certainly sick. It's an awesome gimmick. Part of the gimmick depends on the thrash machine and what the head is, I believe. It's like if the head is a knife, then you can like do like bonus damages as one of your buffs. You can also go into duck mode if you have a duck. So that's pretty sweet. But I think the atmosphere and the music is better here, and the gimmicks are about on par. So I'm gonna keep Queen right a bit above Giga Queen. Finally, we have these 3 mini bosses that are kind of like Spamton and K-Round here. Task Manager is okay. The kind of like Simon Says thing is pretty neat. Incredibly easy though. The fan base has a field day with this one. Though I can't say if somebody said "hear me out" that I wouldn't hear them out necessarily on that one. If you know what I'm saying, but her being the task manager is very clever because she has, like we'll start with the task manager like on your computer. She has 2 tasks with her, I think. 2 is I think is right. She also requires you. It's possible just to win by or to avoid the boss by just paying attention. So there's layers here. The kind of like quiz aspect that goes into the Simon Says, and her design is cool, and her voice is kind of cool, and generally pretty unique for a simple mini boss. So I think this feels mean to put her this far down, but she's pretty great. Clover is honestly probably the worst of these. I'm not a big Clover fan. I just can't get a hold on the questions. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to say to this 3-headed teenage girl here. I just, like, anytime that I say something, I'm like, oh, this has to be right. This is definitely what they're thinking. She's thinking, all 3 of them, like, one of them, I don't know. It's not. It's just not it. They always get mad at me. It's a whole fiasco. So, it feels, maybe I'm stupid, which I am, but it feels a little unfair. That's the way I see it. Probably just a skill issue, I know. But yeah. Also, I've decided that I like Spamton more, so we're gonna put him here. Above. And also, actually, let's go ahead and do this. There we go. Let's put Lancer and Susie at the bottom of B tier. And finally, Mouse Wheel. Mouse Wheel is certainly a mouse wheel. It's avoidable, I think, if you... Is it avoidable if you recruit Task Manager? I forgot. Or is it that Task Manager comes and helps you at some point? It's okay. I think it's top of C tier. It's a funny gimmick because it's like a mouse wheel, like a wheel on a mouse, and they're actual mice. Har har. And I think the boss, like, comes out of nowhere. It's kind of challenging, actually. I think I may have actually died to Mouse Wheel once, which I'm ashamed to say. But that's where I would have Mouse Wheel. And yeah, this is our, or I should say my, because you're not guaranteed to agree with me. This is my Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 bosses tier list, and when more chapters come out very soon, I'll be sure to rank the bosses in those chapters. But that being said, this has been this episode of Throwing Shade, and consider the shade thrown. What's up, guys? If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Be sure to like and subscribe, and check me out on twitch.tv/FruityShade. I always stream right after videos drop, so don't miss any of the action. And with that in mind, have a great night. I love you guys. Be safe, be smart, don't be stupid, and I'll see you next time.